And finally, that brings us to the MacBook Air, a longtime favorite of a lot of Apple users. What is different about the 2019 MacBook Air?
Yes, so for 2019, Apple has refreshed the MacBook Air, and it is now the company's cheapest and lightest laptop.
Ooh.
And those are very appealing to almost everyone who's looking for a general purpose laptop, that thinness and that inexpensivity, if you will.
Especially if you're not a professional high-end user, which these are obviously better suited to.
So the reason for that, and the reason that it takes those two distinctions now, is because Apple has stopped selling the previous generation MacBook Air, which was introduced in 2015 and is slightly bigger. That's the iconic one that you may remember Steve Jobs introducing in a manila envelope all those years ago. That's no longer for sale. And also no longer for sale is the Apple MacBook, which was a 12-inch laptop that was previously the company's smallest and lightest.
Pour one out for the MacBook.
So neither of those are available now, which is why, again, we have only these three in front of us.
Right.
Your decisions are much easier if you're looking for the cheapest Apple laptop that you can buy. It is this one right here.
That.
Right here.
The not pink MacBook Air.
Yes.
They do say this is gold colored, but it really is pretty pink in this light.
Yes.
Definitely a rose gold. Buyer beware, I guess, if you really don't want a pink looking laptop.
It's not called rose gold, but it's rosy.
Yeah.
And it is the only laptop that you can get in this color. These two are only available in silver or gray.
Okay, so what you're getting from this, other than the obvious thinness and lightness, again, 2.75 pounds, again, as opposed to this, which is just over 3. So a marked difference. What you're getting out of this is, well, again, just the two USB-C ports, just the headphone jack, but at least they didn't pare you down to just one USB-C port.
Right.
Thanks, Apple.
Yeah. So that's the thing, that the MacBook had only one. They've learned from that, and now the MacBook Air has 2. Still not 4, and still not any other type of ports. But at least it's one more than the bare minimum.
And no touch bar. Again, that adds expense because what is the starting price on this?
Right. So I said cheapest. It is $1,099 for the general public.
You can't have a touch bar if you're going to start at $1,099.
Yeah, I mean, basically, $1,000 is the sweet spot for laptops. That's pretty much, if you're buying a sleek ultra portable, that's the number that you should be aiming for to spend, I think.
Right. Yeah, the Air is for writers. It's for people who travel a lot. People who just want to browse the web, take it on trips. Not that you can't do that with these other laptops, but they're very clearly, especially the 15-inch model, very clearly aimed at people who need to edit video, who need to do other media work, anything graphics intensive like that. That is for them. This is the better pick for college students and shoppers and people who don't need a lot of power. And
the version we have here is actually $12.99. But it has a 256 gigabyte SSD, which is becoming a common theme here. Do not buy the 128 gigabyte SSD. But the other interesting spec difference is that this laptop here has an Intel Y series processor. It's a Core i5 with a Y in the model name.
Right.
And that means really, 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 really low power.
Right. Yeah, that driving home what we said about who this is for and why, that is reflected in the components very much, not just the price, and not just the lack of touch bar, and not just the other features. It is down to the CPU that's driving this. It is a less powerful processor. There's fewer cores, and there's just less power. Tell me a little more about that.
Indeed, yeah. So basically, there's a dual-core Core i5 Y series processor in here from Intel. That means that it consumes very little power, which means it's very efficient and has a very long battery life.
Won't get as hot, needs less cooling.
Yes, so you're not going to hear as much fan noise. The downside to that is the peak performance is much, much lower. The peak performance on benchmark tests. Right. Let's qualify that.
You can still browse your desktop and things like that.
I was actually playing around with this the other day, and I was able to connect an external monitor and stream video on that while I was doing other things with multiple browser tabs open on the main display. No issues.
The average CPU has come such a way that you're not gonna be sluggish, except for maybe on the cheapest systems out there.
Yes.
Sub $1,000. There are laptops that are much less. Those are the only ones that might struggle to do those things. This is still very much competent enough to do all the things Tom just mentioned.
Right. And the other things that are very similar about this to the Pro, pretty much the same screen. It has that True Tone ability to change the color temperature to the room. Slightly dimmer screen, but we're talking about 400 nits versus 500 nits.
Right.
Still very brilliant Retina display.
Right, which really I think reflects the whole concept of it. It's still a laptop that costs over $1,000 slightly, but it does. So it's still nice. Like, it's not a cheap system.
Right.
It's the cheapest they offer, but that is to say, it has slightly of the fewer kind of across the board advanced features. They're kind of just knocked down. Like the screen brightness, just that much kind of across the board. I think the processor is the biggest of those jumps, but you are still getting the nice metal body, the nice screen, the advanced screen features, like you said.
And Touch ID, for, there's no touch bar, but you still have a fingerprint reader. You've got Hey Siri, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the nice touchpad. It's all here. So there are obviously upsides to this in addition to the fact that it's less expensive and the fact that it's light. It does have nice features still. Don't want to make it sound like it's not a nice laptop.
Right. However, I am going to play the devil's advocate yet again. 2.75 pounds, right? Now the market is extremely competitive, and I want to mention two other laptops not made by Apple that also fall into that 2.75-ish pounds range that use the higher powered processor for the MacBook Pro, and that is the Surface Laptop 2 from Microsoft and the Blade Stealth, the Razer Blade Stealth from Razer.
Right, almost identical weights.
Right, both of those have 13-inch screens, similarly thin and light, but they managed to pack in more processing power, and they start around $1,000, right?
Yes, you can spec them up. You might have to do that to get the features that you necessarily want, but they are around that much money.
So just be aware of how competitive this space is.
Right. This is where Windows laptops have really caught up. Apple was definitely praised, rightly so, for kind of leading this charge. Windows laptops, they don't look as nice, they don't feel as nice, they don't perform as nice, the touchpads aren't nice, the screens aren't as nice. That has all very much changed in the past 5 years. There are a lot of options that might make people turn their heads at Windows laptops. And I think, though I was being kind to it in regards to what it does compared to these laptops, it is, there are some concessions that might make it a little less worthwhile if you can consider a Windows laptop.
Right. And if you are all about the power and things like that, but you still want the thin and light, it's not very compelling.
Right. Yeah.
When you see those charts with the performance on a renderer or something like that, it's just not very compelling. But remember that you're not probably if you're interested in a laptop like this, a lot of that doesn't matter as much. It's more for bragging rights. But the value there isn't quite what it could be.
If you do actually care about the value, if you do want to get bang for your buck in terms of power, so some things can be faster, or some things are faster when you need them. It is nice to have if you feel like not that you're getting ripped off, but if you do want to know you're getting the most out of your money, unless you need, of course, macOS, then maybe on the Air as opposed to these other two, I would suggest looking around at the Windows options.
So you could do that, and here's what I would suggest if you do need macOS. That's what you were just saying. If you do, let's say you do need macOS, you are
those Windows laptops, though good, are not even options to you.
Yeah, you're only looking at Macs. Spend the extra $200 to get the MacBook Pro, right? You give up £0.25, but you get a much faster processor, a touch bar if that's your thing, and pretty much the same in any other respects. Same screen, same touchpad, same keyboard, and you have that power if you need it. If you're buying this for back to school shopping, mow a few extra lawns to make up that $200. Or look for things on sale. Apple now consistently has sales themselves. The back to school promotion is going on right now where you actually get free headphones that you could sell if you wanted to. And third parties like Amazon frequently have sales as well. I would really, unless you absolutely need the cheapest and lightest, which is the Air, I would really look at the Pro.
Yeah, we gave it its credit where it's due, but if we were truly to recommend, if you were to ask us, it's probably worth the extra money to spend on the Pro. Which leads us sort of back to where we started.